This is Mark and Linda Wardell from the Freedom and Virtue Institute, bringing to you another delicious recipe. Today we're going to be making a dessert, if you will. Also, we give this away at Christmas time to all our friends, and so you could do that, or you could sell it and be entrepreneurial. For this makes a delicious fudge cake. Alright, so let's get on with it. Without further ado, I'll ask Miss Linda. She's put the ingredients out here for us, and you can see here that we have some condensed milk, some cocoa, a stick of butter, we have raisins, coconut, we have graham crackers and powdered sugar. Alright, so while Miss Linda's getting that ready, other than we have a saucepan, of course, where we're going to mix things together, melt the butter, some measuring utensils. I'll put this recipe up at the bottom of the video where you'll be able to click on it and download it. But this makes a very nice fudge cake with no cooking. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is place the butter, which is one stick of butter, or 4 ounces of butter, into this saucepan, because we're going to have to heat this up in order to melt the butter into the condensed milk. Now we'll place a half of a 14 ounce can of condensed milk in with the butter. So half a can, a 14 ounce can of condensed milk, and place that in with the butter. Okay, half a can going in. And we also put in the cocoa, 1 tablespoon of cocoa. And here's our cocoa, tablespoon of that. And it goes in, and then we take it over to the stove and heat it up. Here's our tablespoon of cocoa. Alright, and then the recipe calls for heating that on a stove to melt the butter and to stir these 3 ingredients together. Alright, so it won't take very long just to melt the butter and stir these all together. The condensed milk, cocoa, and the butter. Alright, and you'll see the quantities up on the recipe. Now, Miss Linda, do you sometimes make more than this?
Oh, I often double the recipe.
You often double it, and that is because why?
Because everybody likes this recipe.
Yes, and so we tend to make it for people as thank you gifts, or as I said, we give it to a lot of our friends at Christmas time. Well, this is kind of an oldish family recipe that our family's been making now for several generations. And I will say that we've tried to adapt it as much as we can to the ingredients in America, because we're from another country where we used different biscuit base, for example. And but it turns out very nice as well using the graham crackers. We could almost come over here and start to get those ready. So we're now at the point of heating on the stove, melting the butter and stirring the condensed milk and the butter and the cocoa together. And next we're going to stir the raisins and the coconut in, and then crush the graham crackers using a rolling pin. So while that's melting over there, Miss Linda might get some graham crackers ready, or you want to put those in first?
No, I'm going to wait.
All right.
That'll burn over there.
All right, so first the coconut that we put in is 3/4 of a cup, and the raisins we put in are also 3/4 of a cup. So Miss Linda's got that.
This is nearly done.
Oh yes, the butter's melting in very quickly here. Alright, so that's what it should look like at this stage. You can see a couple of little lumps of butter still left in there, but it goes fairly quickly, and you do not want to burn this, so don't leave it and get distracted doing what I was going to do, for example, because I think that's ready, don't you? Yeah, alright. So that's all the heating that this entire recipe takes. Now we're going to add 3/4 of a cup. There's half a cup of coconut. There's 1/4 of a cup, 3/4, and likewise a half a cup of raisins and 1/4 of a cup of raisins. That will make 3/4 of a cup of raisins go into the recipe next, or into the mixture next. So you often, I know, make double this recipe, don't you, Miss Linda, when you make it? But this is just a good starter size that will suggest to you the size of the pan. Now Miss Linda's stirring those ingredients into that mixture. That is the 3/4 of a cup of raisins, the 3/4 of a cup of coconut. Now it's time to get the graham crackers out. All right, graham crackers. Could we see that box one more time, Miss Linda? All right, so this is what we've found is the best thing, honey-made graham crackers, as they're called, and we use those now. So we crush those using a rolling pin. So Miss Linda's going to put them all together, and you'll see the kind of size that we would reduce these down to. It becomes a kind of a biscuit base, and that's crushed down to reasonably fine particles, as you can see here. Alright. Now if anybody comes from Australia and New Zealand out there, we use wine biscuits, as they're called down under, for this, but the graham crackers work just fine as well. Miss Linda's adding, that's one, we've got to, that's half as much as we need. We're going to add more than that, and we'll mix that in a moment. So another sleeve of graham crackers going in. Again, we'll just spread those out and crush them down using the rolling pin. Doesn't take very long. There we go. Now, not all the particles are the same size. You do not have to crush this down to dust. Don't do that. But it's, the particles are relatively fine when they get added in. You can see there the size that Miss Linda's made those, and then that'll go in as well. There's the 2 sleeves of graham crackers. And now we're going to stir all that together, and that's just about the base of fudge cake, already made. So stir it together. Now at this point, while Miss Linda's doing that, I'll just tell you that some in our family prefer this to be thicker, and some like it to go further. In other words, they prepare it a little thinner so you get more slices out of it. So we'll leave that up to you, but we're going to suggest that you put this amount or this quantity of ingredients into a Pyrex dish that we'll use today. And I've measured the bottom of this dish, and it's about 6 1/4 inches wide by 8 inches long. And Miss Linda's putting all of these ingredients directly into the dish, and now she will press them down a little bit. All right, press it down to an even height all the way through, and that is the end of the base of fudge cake. And believe me, this is delicious. There's no cooking of this. We're now going to ice it. Put icing on, or frosting. We call it icing. There you go. So let's see about how thick did that come out to be. Oh yes, it's getting on for 3/4 of an inch. You could make this an inch or even more by using a smaller container if you really like less icing and more base, or if you like a larger chunk to eat. Alright, now we're going to make the chocolate icing to go on here, and that uses 1 cup of powdered sugar. There's half a cup, and another half a cup makes a cup. We'll add to that 1 tablespoon of cocoa. So we'll get our cocoa out ready again, and Miss Linda's going to add 1 tablespoon of cocoa. And now the recipe calls for adding just, after you've mixed these two together of course, just enough water to make it stiff but spreadable. Alright, so you don't want to make this too thin. So Miss Linda's adding those together. Now she's got a little bit of water here. The quantity is not defined. It just needs to be a thick icing that you make with this that's able to be spread. You don't want it too thin. Okay, and then we're going to put that on top of the fudge in a moment. It's a pretty simple icing recipe. We add a small amount of water and mix until it is stiff but spreadable. It's still a bit stiff yet, but it's getting there. There we go. Do you see how Miss Linda's just adding small quantities? Now, what did you have? That's 1/4 of a cup, and you had it about 3/4 full, did you?
No, only about half.
About half full. So it could be really about 1/8 of a cup of water, but that might depend a little bit at your place. Just, do you see? Now, I think that looks pretty good. Do you, Miss Linda?
I do.
Would you like to just bring a lump up on the spoon and on the knife and show them sort of how it behaves on the knife? You see, it's thick, but thick enough to hang there like that. And now Miss Linda's just going to spread that out across the fudge base that she has pressed down into this container. Alright, so here we go. We'll put the icing on top of the fudge base. As I say, this is a favorite in our family for generations. And I'm sure that if you make this, you can see how quickly you can make this if you have the ingredients ready. But you'll be able to cut this up and sell, let's say, 2 to 6 pieces in a bag, and people will love this recipe, and you might be able to put a little money aside in your entrepreneurial effort. Okay. So what do we do after you get that spread evenly across there, Miss Linda? Is there much more to do to this?
I'm going to put it in the fridge and let it set a little bit.
Alright, so the only thing remaining to be done, once you get this spread out across there nicely, is to put it in the refrigerator. And you let the icing set on top, and of course the base sets up a little bit too in the colder temperature, and it's done. It's just a matter after that of cutting it up into squares or oblongs, any size you like. Let's see the side of it. There we are. And it's finished. That's fudge cake. Very quick, very easy, very nice, and I would say very saleable. Okay, so let's pop that in the refrigerator. And what would that take? About an hour, do you think, minimum, to set up? Half an hour or so. Alright, so that is fudge cake. Very easy, wasn't it? And we hope that you're going to enjoy that just as much as we do. We make that quite often, and you'll be able to add that to your entrepreneurial enterprise, to the list of things that you can make. Now, in future videos, watch out for some needlecraft. Miss Linda's working on making a crocheted blanket, and we'll also probably show you how to make some face masks as you develop a little dexterity with your fingers and learn how to sew, both by hand and crochet, and also sew using a sewing machine if you have one. So those are coming down in future videos, but for today we'll sign off. You can see this video at fvinstitute.org and go to the YouTube channel. You'll be able to click on it there on the website and enjoy making fudge cake. Alright, bye now. We'll see you next time. Well, we're back again just to show you the fudge cake. It's been in the fridge now for about an hour, and Miss Linda's going to take it out and we'll show you what it looks like when we cut a piece out of it. Alright, she's taking it out of the fridge. In the bowl that we put it in, has it set nicely, Miss Linda?
Yes, it looks like it.
Oh, it looks very nice. Now, let me see how, I'll show them how you're going to cut it. How we cut it anyway. So, we just put the knife through it like this. Yes, it's pretty nicely set up. And Miss Linda likes to cut it in squares, primarily. But you can make those narrower if you'd like to and make them oblong. And one more slice through there. And then she'll turn the bowl around.
Those ones at the end won't be so square.
And she's now going to cut it in the other direction. And you can then take these slices out and put them on a plate. Put a little bit of saran wrap over them, or you could put them in a Ziploc bag. And you can take them for your school lunch. You could give them to your friends on their birthday or for Christmas. Or, as we said, you could even sell these because they are very, very nice. And you can see it's got a little thickness to it. I like a little thickness to my fudge cake. And there it is. It's probably got, it would be better to be in the fridge overnight, really, wouldn't it? That's what we normally do. Put it in the fridge overnight. And that is delicious. Can you see you can see the graham cracker in there. You can see the raisins in there. Oh, it's very, very nice. It's not too sweet. And it's got that lovely chocolate icing. Would you like to try a bit, Miss Linda?
I tell you what, I'm going to cut one in half.
Cut one in half. Maybe I'll have the other half. Oh, but this is absolutely delicious, and we're sure that you're going to love it. Did it come out well?
Very well.
Alright, there it is. That's fudge cake. We hope that you enjoy making it. It's very quick and easy, but most especially we hope that you love to eat it, and to eat it with your friends, and even make a little money entrepreneurially. Okay, we'll see you next time. This is Mark and Linda Wardell signing off again. Bye.